We're going to go live into Facebook. Here we go. We've got Emily Smith out of Florida with the Weimert group, the Weimert team, the Weimert Brokerage. You guys crushed it last year at 250 million in volume about, right?
Yeah, 285 million.
Oh, shoot. I was only 30 million
Only
off.
30. It's fine. We'll keep that last 30. That's fine.
A little bit.
That's all right. 934 families served. So
Damn.
lots of families served down here last year.
All right.
And
this is part 2. So if you missed part 1, you go to the YouTube channel that Follow Up Boss has, and you're going to see it right there. We went 30 minutes. It was pretty powerful. We're going to continue kind of where we left off there. So this is part 2 to this. Emily, thanks for being with us. You're the COO of this company. It's like a team/brokerage. Mm-hmm. And where we left off was really going deeper into stages, going deeper into the flow of clients and into the leads. And I want to just start off by reminding everybody that what the team does, in essence, what they do really well is they connect with people at a very authentic level. And even though they've scaled the automation, they've just found a way to do that. And I think that's what makes it really special. Right, Emily?
Yeah, you pointed that out last week, and I spent most of the week kind of thinking about it. And I realized that just taking that extra minute when you're building something and asking, how is the client really going to experience this? Or how is the customer really going to experience this on the other side makes all the difference. So a lot of times automation or those action plans that we may pre-pull from a source sounds like we pre-pulled it from a source. So taking the extra minute to wrangle it, look at it, change a few words so it feels authentically like you, like it's not just authentically representing your brand, but authentically representing the message that you're trying to give and the feel and the tone, and taking that extra second to just ask, like, how do I really provide value to these guys, not for any market, but specific to my market and specific to what gifts and talents and skills that I have that I can bring to solve their problems or educate them or whatever it is that you're trying to do. But I literally spent some time this week thinking about that after we talked about that last week, and did sort of point out some places where we could A, improve ourselves, but B, just where we needed to go accolade some team members for doing a good job on doing that. So I appreciated you pointing that out last week, Tristan.
Oh, good call. I love it. I'm glad I could add like 0.01% to what you guys do already. So here's one thing that I want to start off with, and in everything that you do, and I know Emily does this really well with her team, is that she's asking, well, how do I want to make people feel? She just said it like a minute ago. What's the intent of this? How am I going to make people feel? And with that, that's how you start creating that whole presence that you have through automation. And with that, let's start with incoming leads, because as they're coming in, you mentioned you have 40 sources last time, or approximately, give or take. But when they're coming in, how are you managing those leads? Because you also have those stages set other things in process. So can you go over that first?
Yeah, I would love to. So we have about 40 incoming lead sources. So obviously Follow Up Bosses are our place for managing all of those sources. We want everything coming into the system as cleanly as possible. For us, just so you kind of know how we're set up, we run agents on lead shifts. And we talked about this in the last webinar, that there's that ISA model, or there's that agent model, and we've done both. So we've got a little bit of experience of both. Right now we're 2 deep with agents on a shift, and then they have a lead admin that sits on that shift with them. And I'd love to talk about the lead admin today too, because I think that's a little bit of like our magic of managing all those sources that are coming in. So the lead agents that are on those shifts are handling incoming calls. They're handling all new, what we call 0 to 1 leads. So the leads that are 24 hours old. So either it's a hot lead and it's ringing right now, or it's something that's been living in the system over the last 24 hours. Okay. And each of those 2 agents are responsible for certain buckets or smart lists that they're managing alongside of the inbox. And then that leads admin, they're picking up pieces on notifications across the whole system. So if the phone rings and both agents are on the phone, it's going to roll over to that third person. So that leads admin is able to at least answer the phone as like an administrative professional that can at least get the phone answered.
How does that conversation sound like? Hey, this
For
is so-and-so with the WeMert group, or how does that go so that it feels personal, but still professional?
for the leads admin, is that what you're asking, Tristan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they would just answer the phone as an assistant. Hi, this is, Abby from Weimer Group Realty. How can I help you today? Let the person start talking. And sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's maybe another realtor with some questions. If it's an actual lead, they can say, "Hi, I'm just an administrative assistant for so and so. They're just finishing up a phone call. Would you give me just a quick second? And I'm going to transfer you right over to them." And most of the time, by the time they've gotten through that initial part of the conversation, somebody else is off the phone and they can pass the ball seamlessly. And the three of them actually sit in a live space like this on Zoom during their lead shift. So they can actually see, are they on the phone? Can I can I hand the ball to this other person? They can chat each other in that space and they can hand off leads back and forth kind of seamlessly across the space with each other.
All right, cool. Let's talk about the next stage though, because there are stages. And I think you mentioned right before we compared cups, right?
Yours is better today, though. I'm just going to throw it out there. I have my favorite Weimer Group cup, which is, looking good this morning. It's like a
Mine's a little
plaid.
more blue than yours, that's all.
Yours is like a hot commodity in the Facebook group for Follow Up Boss. So you're going to make some people jealous with your cup there. But
Well,
yeah,
we
we
were
started to
talking
talk about further lead stages. So they
stages.
start, yeah,
Yes.
stages. So they start in those uncontacted lead stages for us. Day one is all about speed to lead, get that thing as much as we can, call, text, email. Day two is about trying to make sure that we have done the research. Do they own a home? If they own a home, have we added them to HomeBot? Have we sent them maybe an additional property to look at that looks similar to the one that they came in on as like a mousetrap to try to pique their interest or pull them back up to the top? And they
Okay.
basically work through 2 to 3 days of a real person on shifts, looking at them, trying to turn them over, and trying to see if we can figure out how to turn them into a contacted lead, which is where
Okay.
our stages really come into play. So by day three, if we can't get a hold of them by the end of that day, they're moving into a lead pond in Follow Up Us, which becomes eligible for those guys to be called by anybody.
Do they move to that pawn stage automatically based on how you tag them? Or tell me that how that works.
So I wish they did. So Dan, if you and your team are listening, I'll just put my hand up on how the automation works there. However, how we do it is that the stage changes based on the action plans. So
Mhm.
every so many hours, we're switching stages.
Okay.
And then as the stage changes, that lead admin is watching the smart list, that basically that bucket is constantly updated. And as soon as they see somebody new in that bucket, they're
Mhm.
moving them physically to the pond.
Okay, so you have somebody or two people managing the database to be able to see this on an hour-to-hour basis during work time, right?
We
Not
do.
like in the middle of the night.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
not during the middle of the night. We're about 18 hours live during the day in
okay.
shifts. So I have a leads manager, and we talked a little bit about her in our last video, but her whole role is to coach agents on their database, help them think through who they have there in their pipeline, and also to watch and manage our leads admin team and teach them how to better serve up things from the database to our agents so they don't miss notifications, so they don't miss the opportunities, because as they're busy out in the field serving, like many of the agents probably watching this, one of the hardest things to do when you're busy with a real person is catch the notifications coming in on the fly. So they're
For sure.
backup essentially.
Okay, I like this. So let's go deeper on this because I think
Sure.
this, like you said, is almost like the magic sauce to make everything work, right? Between the team and the leads that are coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you have two people that are managing the leads on Follow Up Boss. Is that right or no?
So leads admin, who has
Oh,
3 part-time people that work for her.
okay.
And those part-time people are online 18 hours a day between the three of them in shifts,
Okay. So
seven
you have a
days a
lead
week.
lead admin and they have three VAs or virtual staff or in-house staff working on
Yep.
it.
Yep.
All right, cool. Now, can you tell me what those three staff members do that work under your lead admin? How does that work?
Yeah. So they are actually on MLS as like a backup number. So if agents are out showing properties and they have questions and they need to call in on our listings, they're going to get a lead admin instead of the agent first, because they're sitting in front of a computer. They can pull up all of the information about that property. They can answer questions. The second thing that they're doing is they're chasing feedback for us. And so if someone shows one of our listings on their shift, they're chasing feedback from those agents because we use that feedback and that data to communicate with our sellers. We need that in order, we make data-driven decisions, and we teach our sellers that we're making data-driven decisions on their behalf. We're helping them make them, I should say.
Well, that
And
makes
they're
for an
doing,
easier that
yeah,
makes for an easier call too, because
yes,
it's a more personal. That's the authenticity piece that I'm talking about.
yeah.
That. So
Well,
that
and when
makes
you,
more sense.
yeah, it's like scripts. You know, we want to talk about scripts, and we want to talk about, if you know your data, you don't need a script. You can just speak about the data. And so we teach our team how to read the data. We teach our team how to speak about the data, the trends that they're seeing, you know, in MLS. It's like, how many searches is your property actually in? Is it in enough? Are there enough eyeballs on that property that we're marketing it properly? Like we are teaching our entire team how to put tools in their toolbox so that they can go out and actually be the masters of their craft to their
Mm.
clients. So we look at every part of our process as making really like efficient pieces of the puzzle for the team to play in, but also we use it as training for our actual team so that they can go out and be better agents on behalf of their clients and on behalf of the people that we're serving together. That's a super big piece of the puzzle. So going back to that A team, Tristan, we call them the A team. And I always joke that they should have like capes because they sound like this, like the awesome team, but really it's just the admin team, right? But A team sounds more fun. But they're doing feedback and managing all of those calls alongside of watching the database and serving up notification-based opportunities. So we're part of a YLOPO alongside of Follow Up Boss. So if we have a Y priority alert pop up, meaning somebody has looked at a property more than 3 times, the lead admin is going to see that notification and they're going to go, oh, this lead belongs to, and they'll look and figure out which agent, and they'll look at the story in Follow Up Boss and go, okay, where are we at in the story of this lead? And they'll kick it over to the agent and say, hey, notice that so-and-so looked at this property 3 times. Would you like me to respond, or do you got this? And if they don't hear back from that agent, they're going to automatically pick up and respond, hey, this is Abby on behalf of, you know, Danny. He's out with another family right now, but he asked me to check in with you. Would you like to go see this property? Love to set up a time. And they're creating a little bit of a natural pairing and acting like it's basically leverage for the agents who are out in the field, and creating that human connective part to keep this whole thing feeling very fluid so that people aren't talking to a bot, they're talking to a real person who can put the story together and who can help carry the ball forward for the agents who are super busy in the field.
Do you do a lot of live transfers from admin to agent or no?
I wouldn't say a lot of live transfers. It's more, I would say, text group messages. Like they are
Okay.
messaging saying, hey, let me put us together in a group. That way Danny can pick up the ball as soon as he's able, and they'll
Okay.
put them together into a group. Or the feedback. If the agent has a question that they don't know how to answer, they will say, let me put you in a group message with Danny, and that way he can answer this question for you. And I don't want you to have to repeat yourself. So let me write it out for us. So they take the time to put it in the message.
Oh,
And right.
that's key
Right.
right there.
Well, because your agent partners, your co-op agents you need to see them as a client. Every vendor, every agent, co-op agent you're working with, every person in real estate that you're touching, not just the people we think of as customers or clients that are buying or selling, need to become a part of your client experience, so to speak, because that's your reputation. That is their expectation of how your team is going to handle. So if you come back up against, you know, that agent and they're like, ooh, I've got 10 offers on the table. Those Weimer people, man, they go the extra mile every time I reach out to them. How much more likely are they going to be to persuade a seller to accept our offer if our terms are all right? Because of just the experience that they've had with our team going the extra mile on small things like a question that they had on a property that maybe their client was interested in.
Ooh, that's very key. Now, when they have a real estate question, does your admin team do the work on looking up that answer, or does it transition it over to the agent to do that work?
It depends on what it is. It just depends on the level of the question, how deep the question goes. If it's something they can see out like in a public space, or if it's something written in our realtor remarks, they can look at those things very easily. If it's something very specific about the house, or it's something that an agent should really be answering for them, we pass the ball to the agent very quickly.
Got it. It makes sense. You just have to determine where they're at and their motivation. All right. Makes
Yep.
sense. So then you've got these three part-time, are they virtual staff or in-house?
Ours are in-house. We started virtual and then found that we wanted a little more localized control, and we had a kind of a weird influx of opportunity with COVID, of
Okay.
people that knew people that were
Ah,
fantastic hires
yeah.
that needed a space. So it just kind of worked itself out this year that we were able to put these guys in place.
And why part-time and not one full-time and one part-time?
Again, it's more for us about finding the right people and pairing the opportunity. And it just so happens that all three of the folks that we put in these seats, none of them either want or can handle a full-time position right now. And so it works for them, and it works for us to be able to balance their schedules. I'm a very big believer that you find the right people to put on the bus, and then you tailor the opportunity around having found the right person.
Yeah, that's so true. I believe the exact same thing. That's so
Yeah.
cool. All right. Now let's go back up to that lead manager, right?
Yeah.
The one at the top here. How often are they meeting with the team, and do they hold team meetings? Do they go one-on-one? What does that look like?
So her role, we're in team meeting all together once a week as a team as a whole. And she has a part of team meeting where she's giving kind of like helpful hints or tips, or don't forget to do this, almost in every single meeting. It's short. Team meetings are packed full of a lot of education, a lot of housekeeping. We've got 68 people to try to keep on the bus and going in all the same direction. So she
Mhm.
only has a part. Her role becomes much more about either one-to-one or group training. So if she's got a group of agents that all seem to be hitting kind of the same roadblock or hurdle, she'll call a
Mhm.
meeting and specially invite them and say, I'd really like for you to come to this meeting so we can talk about this piece.
Mhm.
Or if we're doing a database piece, she's putting together the step-by-steps and communicating with the team on, okay, hey, listen, it's about time to send out XYZ. I need you to go in and tag 10 people that you would like to receive this touch. And as long as they follow her directions and go tag those 10 people, she works with the marketing department, and that off that touch is, off and running. And the agent didn't have to do anything but tag those 10 people. And it depends on what it is, but her role is day-to-day coaching. It's advising the team. It's keeping the team up to date on all opportunities when it comes to database as a whole. And
Okay.
then working with marketing she's got a little bit of a creative bent. So working with marketing to develop those things. So like in March, we're going to send out like, we're lucky to know you lotto cards. It's a very cheap, easy
Oh.
way to touch past clients or touch a certain sector of your database.
Uh-huh.
And it's something that you can automate. They don't need personal messages from the agent, so to speak. It can be a little more of a broad touch with a cute card. And so she's already working with marketing on getting the card developed, making sure someone's out buying, like our runners out buying the lottery tickets, because you have to stand in line and like do the one-to-one thing for
Yeah.
like, it's like a whole process. But she's managing that and making sure that that happens. And that sounds like such a weird thing for a leads manager to be doing, but it's because we pair leads management with database management and bring those two
Ah,
pieces together.
all right. So on that, is she
Yes.
also in charge of making sure that the team is fully using all of the things inside of Follow Up Boss, or does that fall on you?
I think at this point it's a shared responsibility. So a lot of the things that have lived on my plate for years have slowly migrated to hers. And I'm still handing pieces to her. So the pieces of Follow Up Boss, we're making those decisions together, and we're asking together, if we change how this works for you and your part of the system, is this going to break anything across any of the other pieces of what we're building? So for example, stages. If how she's instructing the agents to utilize stages up in the lead management portion, does that affect what happens with our client care coordinators and when they're moving people around in the middle part of the transaction? Or
Yeah.
this is silly, but little things like, are we changing people to past client or are we changing people to closed? Like, it's like a silly example,
Yeah.
but all of that kind of has to work.
What is the answer though? Pass,
Um,
client, or
we
close?
do past client because we're
Okay, good.
fluffy.
That makes more
We're
sense to
fluffy,
me
right?
too.
Like well, and it's language training. So what you name things matters. what you call your action plans matters. You're training your team if you have a team, or even if you're a single agent and you eventually might want to have a team, name things in a way that's going to cause you to speak in that language so that everyone starts using common words, common themes, common ways of saying things.
Okay, makes a lot of sense there. I love that. So then let's go to a different segment of this. We've got the leads manager, right? Is that her name
Yep.
that you have for her? Leads
Yeah,
manager.
I call her the director of agent services because
Director.
she's kind of over their whole business essentially.
All right, so director of agent services, and then what are the names for the three people that are helping her?
We really legitly call them the A team, and
Oh,
it's
that's right.
admin team. So we
Oh,
call
that's
them
cool.
the A team. I kid you not, their names all start with A, and so the joke is we can't hire you unless you start with the letter A. Like it's not a thing, obviously,
That's so
but
good.
it just worked out, and so that's how they sort of got to be known as the A team. And then the whole other side of this that we never really got to, Tristan, if you want to go there,
Yeah,
are these contacted leads. Like,
that's
okay,
the one.
yeah, like now we know who you are. So now how do I stage you? And on that note, we made a decision looking at Follow Boss and watching our agents try in the beginning of our time with Follow Boss to remember what task, what stage, what this, what note, what am I supposed to, like you could see like they wanted to do the right
Yeah,
things, the intention was right, but life is busy when you're managing 4 or 5 families at a high level. It's busy when you're out serving those guys. And so we wanted to simplify things as much as possible. So once we know what somebody is, we can classify them into a stage, and the stage and follow-up boss will trigger an automation, which essentially starts an action plan for that specific stage. So if my person is an A buyer, they're like, I need to buy a home tomorrow, I'm pre-approved, ready to go, and you change them to A buyer, it's going to add the right tags. It might add a task. It may not, just depending on what the plan is, on what we've predetermined and what our leads manager has said. This is what I think would help set an agent up for success on this particular type of stage.
got it.
So if it's a buyer lead, we've got stages and action plans that go together. If it's seller, same thing. The stages trigger action plans, prompting the agents through their tasks, or by putting people on smart lists so that they can have call lists, again, just depending on what the stage is. We
Okay,
also have stages that we are stage happy because it helps us keep people classified.
that sounds like
So,
a class of its own. Stage happy.
yeah, stage happy, yes. But that's going to be like your renters, your sphere, your contact, which for us means they're not buying or selling right now. So
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't someday. It just means right this minute, they're not an A or a B or somebody I'm really trying to nurture as a C buyer. And they're maybe not trying to sell their house right this minute. So we classify them as contact. Has a realtor is another big stage for us,
Okay.
or is a realtor or broker or marketing, those people that call your phone number because they found you online and they want to sell you something.
Oh
We
yeah.
mark them as marketing so they come up appropriately the next time and we kind of have a heads up. Now, I will say things get thrown into marketing and all of a sudden it's weird, but they turn out to buy or sell a house because you dripped on them for a little while. So
That's a
don't
good
write those
point.
off. Yeah, don't write those off completely. Or like real estate vendors is another stage that we use. Those would be your title you've got title companies, or if you've got maybe attorneys specifically that you use, or in our world, it would be inspectors or
Mm,
insurance companies. And those
okay.
we mark separately because we want to be able, when they come up, to very quickly go, oh, okay, they've called before, they're a real estate vendor. And in that stage makes it really easy to see
Makes sense.
who they are and classify really quickly. I want, when you look at the database at a glance, when you're running 1,000,000 miles an hour, for you to quickly go, where did it originally come from? What's the source? What stage is it currently in? And to be able to like start mapping that story really fast.
Do you use, and then I'll go back to my last question to you, but
Sure.
in follow-up boss, there's a little section on the left of each client where it has like the details and then the background,
Yes.
right? Do you use that background section to be able to give everybody like the quick gist of things?
So yes, we did. We have, and we do. My only concern with background is it doesn't come up in the inbox. It's one of the only fields not to come up when you're working out of the actual inbox. And so it's not as easy of a place for agents to leave notes when
Okay.
they're working out of the inbox if a call comes in. So I would say early days of Follow Up Boss, we were heavily relying on background to write down quick things like, this is Tom, he's moving here from Michigan, he's got 2 kids, a dog, and likes apple pie, whatever it is he told you on the phone, right? But it doesn't seem to be the easiest way to do that in the inbox anymore. So our agents are still using it because they're trained to, and it helps them on the fly, but it's getting harder to leave it there, to be really
So
honest
do
with you.
you, because on the inbox, you're right, only like details, recent conversation pops up. Do
Yep.
you put some of that information under details then, or no?
Some of it under details, some of it under custom fields. Like we have maxed out we're stage happy and custom field happy. And I know Renee Funk is also custom field happy. So we've got that in common. She's amazing too. So yeah, the custom fields are a big place. That's where we can maximize things like occupations or, client's birthday, or I know there's a lot of questions in the Follow Up Boss group about spouses or about, and I know Dan's team is working on building out that relationship piece, which will be great when that comes. But really, custom fields are a fantastic place to put all of that information. So we put birthdays, home anniversary dates. So the date they bought or sold their, for us, we only do the day they bought their home. I don't want to sell them, or I don't want to send them a card to say, congratulations, you sold your house a year ago. That's kind of a weird one to get. So home anniversaries for us are buyer only. Home anniversary dates too. This is just a fun side note, Tristan, trigger things in our system like, hey, they bought or sold a home this year. So at closing, we actually pre-package up a holiday ornament and a holiday card, and it's holiday because it's not Christmas, it's holiday. And that goes out automatically on the beginning of December for every client that purchased this last year, but it's triggered off of that home anniversary date for us. But that's where we're putting occupations. It's amazing how many times I've used custom fields to identify who are our teachers, who are our, electricians, who are our attorneys in our database that we could send a touch out to, or, if your local lenders have like hero programs that you could pair some marketing to police officers and firefighters and hospital workers. When COVID hit, we were looking for all of our teachers, all of our doctors, all of our nurses, trying to figure out how to best support these folks who were doing a little extra hero work out there in our communities during this time, and having them in custom fields with their occupation already there gave us really easy access to pulling those lists together. And if we had kept all of that info in background, we couldn't have pulled smart lists together on
Not
that.
at all. You're right about that. I didn't realize that when we go into inbox, that background isn't available there. So very, very good point on that. And custom fields are extremely important. All right, we got a minute here. I have a question about your background. I see, are those shells or see something from the ocean in that cubicle that you've got there? What is that?
Yes. So I am obsessed with the ocean. I love going to the beach, teal water. So every time we go, my kids and I spend hours and hours, and my husband, we spend hours and hours collecting shells everywhere that we go, or sea glass. We're like, if we go to a lake, I'm looking for sea glass, and I will spend, I think I can't sit still is really the truth, Tristan. So I have to do something. So something about shell hunting lets my high D personality have something to do at the beach, but lots of good memories. Thanks for asking.
I love that. All right, well, geez, I think we need a 3, 4, 5, and 6 to this, but thank you for doing this once again. Great information. I love the detail and the organization behind it. So you guys are running a powerful thing over there, and you cover Orlando, right?
We do. Yeah, we're 114 zip codes around Orlando. So if you have a referral anywhere close to Central Orlando, feel free to send it over. I'm even happy to advise you if it's outside of our area. We've got great relationships with lots of the Florida folks kind of near us as well.
Perfect. All right. You heard that. You know where to send referrals to for Orlando. Thank you, Emily. Say hi to Jenny and keep on rocking it.